Lost between two lands, identity crisis, a story of Indian indentureship to Trinidad. To forget one's ancestors is to be a book without a source, a tree without a root. But what if you don't know where your ancestors came from? What if you had no proof, no records, no living memory? What if your ancestors were displaced, a memory of a place called home now erased? What if you couldn't trace back where you came from or who you had left behind? You couldn't pop in a tape and hit rewind. My ancestors originated from India. After slavery was abolished in Trinidad, the British Empire needed people to work in their colonies, so they began to play a little game of monopoly, moving people across the board from land to land, turning to India as a place of labor, a place to disband. They were facing an economic crisis and living in poor conditions, so the British sold indentureship as the ultimate expedition. An adventure awaits in the new land, let it be known that the wealth shall expand. Trinidad, the land of sugar, where you will prosper and live a life much fuller. The land of opportunities, come now, we're taking people from each and every community. Contracts in 3 languages they did not know, what could they do but sign below? Some not even realizing they'd be leaving Indian soil, oh how their lives would begin to coil. Some illiterate and unable to understand the terms of agreement, my ancestors were signing up for years of mistreatment. They crammed onto these boats and set sail for 4 months, slowly realizing that the British were putting up a front. Enduring all kinds of sickness and disease, to some their last breath was the ocean breeze. But I guess my ancestors made it off the ship. They just never got that return trip. When they got to the island, they were split among the estates. From now on, the production of sugar cane would be their fates. Now they say they were free laborers, that this was different from slavery. But let me tell you something, nothing about this was neighborly. It is true that the system was different, yet it was built on the same foundation. It was experimental, yet they were bounded to the plantations. You say free, but you need a pass and permission to leave the estate. You say free, but you are tied down to the contract, no debate. You say free, but you cannot demand higher wages or refuse work. You say free, but the minute you ask for rights, the courts desert. Excessive exploitation takes place, reminding us that the taint of slavery would always linger in the space. And our women did not come as just sisters and wives. Most of them came independently, fleeing abuse and famine, running for their lives. The invisible labor of these women went unrecognized, and the scarcity of them made them hypersexualized. There were commodities being shipped, and every right and value was stripped. It's been a century since the abolishment of indentureship, yet still many Trinidadians have never made that round trip. Back to India, back to the motherland. When we hear the national anthem, some of us don't even know whether to stand. Our mother tongues were languages of the elders and attachments to plantations. Over time, they stopped sharing and passing down knowledge to contribute to our foundation. Is this what happens with displacement? Over time, do we lose more and more of what makes us us? Does the physical and cultural change in environment affect our identities? Are we left here seeking remedies? I think about it sometimes. If I had family somewhere in India, if there was a village of my people, if stories are told about those that left for the land of sugar but never came home. Our culture is tied to our land, to our history, to our people, but I have too. So how does that work? How do I remember my ancestors and connect with my roots if I don't even know where they were planted to begin with? Through displacement, through immigration, do we plant new roots and forget the old ones? Or are they connected because we are breathing the same oxygen into our lungs? So maybe it's okay to have roots in 2 places. Maybe acknowledging our history will help us understand these spaces. Maybe the tree can be replanted. Maybe the soil is the same. Maybe identity is the wounded history behind the name. Despite being lost between 2 lands, we continue to stand, because although one seems so foreign, we must remember, to our ancestors, they were once mourning. Our people have worked the lands, and the lands have been the key to our history. But for now, I guess the details of my family tree will forever be a mystery.